The SMS is one of my favorite topics. You've both heard me do my spiel in front of the House committees and every opportunity I can. It's actually a canard, because any company can bring in a safety management system. It's actually a best practice. So when we talk about SMS in the context of the regulatory world, in a sense, it really disguises what it really is. It really goes back to the smart regulation wave that struck the Western world. And basically, a philosophy of smart regulations is companies are smart and mature, and they really do not need government intervention in their business affairs, because we all know that companies have the best interest of the consumer and the product markets that they sell, because if they didn't do a good job, people wouldn't buy their products and they go out of business. So we get into arguments about prescriptive versus prescribed regulation. Prescriptive is, and this is how it was sold. Why do we call it a black box in a plane? Because it could be red or pink or purple or some other color. Why would you tell us it has to be red? Why does it have to be this size? It could be smaller or bigger, just as long as it does the same thing. In other words, why do we have wasted regulations costing us money, and we know what we're doing? Bluntly, it was sold to the industrial world as deregulation, because that's exactly what it is. Instead of the government or the state stepping up to the plate and saying, well, no, you must have these certain rules, whether it's hours of service for workers or whether it's the type of safety clothing or safety equipment you have to wear, companies, we can trust them. Now, where's that taken us to? The example I used the last time in front of the Dangerous Goods Act, Bill C-9, was actually our good friend, Mr. Greenspan, the former chair of the Fed in the States, who was talking in front of the Finance Committee in America and asked what happened. And he was puzzled, because they had safety management systems. Safety management systems are built around robust risk management. And they should have worked, but he just underestimated the greed of bankers. Oops. We're into a recession. Millions of workers are going to be laid off. Why? Well, basically it's smart regulations with risk management, safety management systems. That's where we are. What's the problem in Canada? First of all, Transport Canada's mandate has to be changed. Whether it's safety rules, security rules, any kind of rules, there's a balance. And on one side you have the safety of workers, the safety of the public, and equally balanced with that is the ability of a company to make a buck. Canadians should be shocked to know that security at airports and security and our safety of fighting terrorism has to be balanced with a company right to make a buck. If it comes to worker safety, well, that has to be balanced with a company's ability to make a buck. Number one, Transport Canada's mandate, how it does business, has to change. The security and safety of the public and workers has to be higher than a company's ability to make a buck. That's number one. Number two, something that we've addressed, and we have to congratulate the Conservatives initially, both in Bill C6 and C7, one of the Teamster amendments that was put forward, and that was to restore some accountability to Parliament. Basically, most of these deals are made in a back room, and Brother Balness and I sit in many, we'll be talking later, sit at many committees where basically if the company wants something, they can pretty well get it. Air, rail, road, doesn't really matter. It's changing. It is changing a bit. Why? Because a company has to make a buck. The one amendment we brought on the Dangerous Goods Amendment, as you know, was to ensure that the House of Commons committees, transportation committees, on their own account or by complaint of a stakeholder, can review regulations made under the Act. Now, that was included in Bill C7 thanks to the Conservatives. Bill C6 came forward from Mr. Volpe, supported by Mr. Jean and, of course, by Mr. Bevington. And in fact, the entire committee supported it. I was very thrilled to see that. It's very important that the public, with the safety management systems that are in place, you don't end up with the companies and the government or the minister in transportation doing this. One saying, I'm following your rules, it's okay, and the other saying, well, they followed the rules and it's okay, but we're not sure. Safety management systems isn't just about air. It's about food. It's about the environment. It's about every single piece of legislation passed by this government dealing with Canada's safety and security in probably the last 10 years. I'd urge that that particular clause gets put into every enabling piece of legislation. It's our policy that we will try our best to get in every transport piece of legislation. One of the most important items, I think, at the end of the day, is for the parliamentarians to stand up to the plate. And there's two here, and I'll tell you simply why. For a long time, from my perspective, bringing issues to parliamentarians, their viewpoint has been, in the past, well, we passed that legislation, it's all over there in regulations. We don't have to worry about it because it's dealt with. That's why I do thank you, Mr. Bevington, for supporting our particular amendment on TDGA, and previous, I think you supported our amendment in C7. The bottom line is, this isn't something that's Transport Canada's fault or problem. This isn't the industry's problem in the sense people want to make a buck. This was parliamentarians not doing their job from all parties. Parliamentarians that are willing to pass pieces of legislation, wash their hands of it, and move on. Transport Canada is fulfilling its mandate set by Parliament. They're not doing it in space. They're fulfilling their mandate on smart rags, SMSs, prescribed versus mandated regulations. They're following your mandate. If the change happens, it's not with Transport Canada will follow any order it is given by Parliament. It is up to Parliament to change it. And perhaps the one issue that we discussed in the TDGA, which is on security, but it could be on safety, perhaps that august body, the Scott committees, one of these days could take the time from their busy schedule to have stakeholders come forward, raise these issues, talk about them, and perhaps for parliamentarians to do what they're supposed to do. Look after me, my family, all our families, and the traveling public. Blame is not just aimed at one direction, and not just one government, and not just one party. And I will give the Conservatives credit. On the Railway Safety Act, the committees that they've set up, full union participation is going to move a long way on the railway safety problems. On Bill C7 and on the Dangerous Goods Act, they were the ones that really created the amendment. Well, we worked with them, but put forward the amendments to make sure that the House of Commons would actually be responsible. I think with your support and other MPs' support, we can push that wagon, that agenda forward a little bit more. And both from Mr. Julie and Mr. Bevington, I appreciated both of your support, both in the previous and this bill, moving some of our agenda forward. So thank you.